Hi everybody. I'm going to try and start a video series, and it all starts with this book. It's the Treasury of the World's Greatest Speeches. My wife bought it at the library sale. You know that sometimes they sell off books that they don't need anymore, and she picked this one up and brought it home, and I really got very interested in it. I like speeches a lot. And it occurred to me that there were a lot of speeches in this book that came from a time before audio recording, and so they're not recorded anywhere. And I thought maybe I would do that. I'm going to try and work through all of the older speeches in this, but it'll probably take me a little while because there's quite a few. But one that really caught my eye that I wanted to start with was Robespierre's recommends virtue and terror from the French Revolution. Just to give you a little background, Robespierre was kind of a mid-level bureaucrat when the French Revolution began, and he worked his way up to be a thought leader within the French Revolution, and was very much a proponent of the terror, the purging of French society during the Revolution, and he was all in favor of it, all the way up until somebody pointed the finger at him, and he was ultimately executed during the Revolution. And so they have two speeches from him in this book, and the first one is him espousing the terror, and the second one is his speech from the guillotine. And so I'm going to do both of them. I'm going to do first the one where he espouses the terror, and then I'll make another video with him talking about the guillotine. But without any further ado, here is Robespierre's speech, February 5th, 1794. After having marched for a long time at hazard, and, as it were, carried away by the movement of contrary factions, the representatives of the people have at last formed a government. A sudden change in the nation's fortune announced to Europe the regeneration that had been operated in the national representation. But up to this moment we must admit that we have been rather guided in these stormy circumstances by the love of good, and by a sense of the country's wants, more than by an exact theory or precise rules of conduct. It is time to distinguish clearly the aim of the revolution and the term to which we would arrive. It is time for us to render account to ourselves both of the obstacles which still keep us from that aim, and of the means which we ought to take to attain it. What is the aim we tend? The peaceful enjoyment of liberty and equality, the reign of that eternal justice of which the laws have been engraved not upon marble, but upon the hearts of all mankind, even in the hearts of slaves who forgot them, or the tyrants who have denied them. We desire a state of things wherein all base and cruel passions shall be enchained, all generous and beneficent passions awakened by the laws, wherein ambition should be the desire of glory, and glory the desire of the country, wherein distinctions should arise but from equality itself, wherein the citizen should submit to the magistrate to the people, and the people to justice, wherein the country assures the welfare of every individual, wherein every individual enjoys the pride of prosperity and the glory of his country, wherein all minds are enlarged by the continual communication of republican sentiments and by the desire of meriting the esteem of a great people, wherein arts should be decorations of that liberty which they ennoble, and commerce the source of public wealth, and not the monstrous opulence of some few houses. We desire to substitute morality for egotism, probity for honor, principles for usages, duties for functions, the empire of reason for the tyranny of fashions, the scorn of vice for the scorn of misfortune, pride for insolence, replacing greatness of the soul for vanity, the love of glory for the love of money, good citizens for good society. We would like to replace merit for intrigue, genius for cleverness, truth for splendor, the charm of happiness for the ennui of voluptuousness, the grandeur of man for the pettiness of the great, a magnanimous people powerful, happy, for a people amiable, frivolous, and miserable. That is to say, all the virtues and all the miracles of a republic for all the vices and all the follies of a monarchy. What is the nature of the government that can realize these prodigies? The democratic or republican government. Democracy is the state in which the people, guided by laws that are its own works, execute for itself all that it can well do, and by its delegates all that it cannot do itself. But not found and consolidate democracy, we must first end the war of liberty against tyranny, and traverse the storm of the revolution. Such is the aim of the revolutionary system you have organized, and you ought therefore to regulate your conduct by the circumstances in which the republic finds itself. And the plan of your administration ought to be the result of the spirit of revolutionary government, combined with the general principles of democracy. The great purity of the French Revolution, the sublimity even of its object, is precisely that which makes our force and our weakness. The force because it gives us the ascendancy of truth over imposture, the right of public interest over private interest. Our weakness because it rallies against us all the vicious, all those who in their hearts mediate the robbery of the people, all those who having robbed them seek impunity, all those who have rejected liberty as a personal calamity, and those who have embraced the revolution as a trade, and the republic as a prey. Hence the defection of so many ambitious men who have abandoned us on our route because they did not commence the journey to arrive at the same object as we did. We must crush both the interior and exterior enemies of the republic, or perish with her. And in this situation, the first maxim of your policy should be to conduct the people by reason and the enemies of the people by terror. If the spring of popular government during peace is virtue, then the spring of popular government in rebellion is at once both virtue and terror. Virtue without terror is fatal. Terror without virtue is powerless. Terror is nothing else than justice, prompt, secure, and inflexible. It is, therefore, an emanation of virtue. It is less a practical principle than a consequence of the general principles of democracy applied to the most urgent wants of our country. It is said that terror is an instrument of a despotic government. Does yours, then, resemble despotism? Yes, as a sword which glitters in the hands of a hero of liberty resembles that which the satellites of tyranny are armed. The government of a revolution is the despotism of liberty against tyranny. Is force then only made to protect crime? Is it not also made to strike those haughty heads which the lightning has doomed? Nature has imposed upon every being the law of self-preservation. Crime massacres innocence to reign, and innocence struggles with all its force in the hands of crime. Let tyranny but reign one day, and on the morrow there would be not a single patriot remaining. Until when? How long will the fury of tyranny continue to be called justice, and the justice of the people barbarity and rebellion? How tender they are to oppressors, how inexorable to the oppressed. Nevertheless, it is necessary that one or the other should succumb. Indulgence for the royalists, exclaim certain people. Pardon for wretches. No. Pardon for innocents. Pardon for the weak. Pardon for the unhappy. Pardon for humanity. So, that's the end of what he had to say in February. The next video will be Robespierre faces the guillotine a few months later. Not actually a few months later. I'll be back probably the next day or two, but you'll hear that one soon. Thanks. Bye.